Good morning, everyone. On today's webinar, the webinar on a guide to efficient digital filing for virtual courts video conferencing hearing in the Bombay High Court. This is the second part of this webinar. We have taken the first webinar 2 weeks back, when Justice Patel sir had detailed us out on how to do the prerequisites and how to do the e-filing. This will be a continuation of that. With me, I have President Saraf sir, who's an advocate with Bombay High Court, and who will also be the co-host and taking this thing forward. Saraf sir would be the one who will be taking the questions, and the question answer round will be active at 11:45. So I would request you to hold your questions till then and ask your question in the column. There's a small request to all the members who is joining this webinar, that when you're asking a question, do not ask a question in one line and in separate lines. Just ask in one bracket itself, so it's easier for Saraf sir to pick up the question and relate to it. And keep it concise. It's easier for everyone to answer it quickly. Secondly, the question about the recording of this webinar is concerned. The recording of the webinar would be provided to you. And thirdly, this particular webinar is also being telecasted on YouTube. However, we will not be taking any questions through YouTube. So if you have any questions, please come on Teams and put it over there. Now, sir, President Saraf sir, I would request you to please introduce the dignitaries on the dais right now, and please start the session. So over to you.
Mr. Yallagada would be doing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very good morning to Honorable Lordship Sri Justice G.S. Patel, sir. Honorable Senior Advocate Dr. Virendra Saraf. Honorable advocates who are attending this webinar. Honorable judicial officers from the districts and from the registry, and all our beloved system administrators and the staff from the district courts and the High Court registry, and all my friends. It's my pleasure to welcome Honorable Sri Justice G.S. Patel sir to this second session of this webinar. First session was conducted on 2nd of this month. This is a very important topic in the present time, and without taking much time, I would request Honorable Lordship to start the session.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry to have to do this on a Sunday, but we have no choice. I trust all of you are well and safe. Before I begin, I must tell you that there is likely to be a slight change in the curriculum from what was sent out to you. The reason is that we are focusing today on what is absolutely essential for the purposes of e-filing as we currently know it. I had said in the printed curriculum that we would be, sorry, is there a problem with the transmission? I'm not seeing the YouTube live feed, but anyway, that I take it that you've got that under control. Okay. I had said that we would be looking at certain features of Microsoft Word, such as macros and other programming aspects, but I think we are going to have to defer that. The reason is that I've received a large number of questions following up from the previous session, and also some very specific queries, so I will address those. The focus today will be on most efficiently managing your documentation for the purposes of what we currently call e-filing. Now, on that, let me first clarify a couple of things. The filing by email is not technically e-filing. The e-filing module will be launched shortly. The rules have been approved and are pending sanction by the full court. That form of e-filing will involve not sending emails, but uploading your PDF documents onto at a dedicated section of the website and uploading them to a central server. For the present, we are continuing with the email filing, and therefore the focus of this session is to figure out a way to make that email filing most efficient. Now, before I say anything further, let me give you some examples of what I mean when I'm talking about macros. This session will deal with some practical tips, and we are looking at an integration of Microsoft Word with Adobe Acrobat. Now, I know there are other word processing softwares out there, including freeware, and there are other Adobe Acrobat alternatives. I am not looking at those, and I will explain why. These are basically industry standards, so we will stick to that, and I can't possibly cover every variation. I will begin with an introductory remark, and then I will very briefly touch upon what we mean when we talk about macros, just to give you an introduction of what lies ahead. Then we'll go back to the specific questions. The first prefatory remark that I want to make is this. Please consider very seriously this recommendation to get yourself invested in licensed copies of both Microsoft Office 365, which is its current variation, and Adobe Acrobat. Now, you may think this is very expensive, but actually it's not, and I'll break down the costing for you also so that you have some idea of what we're talking about. I'm not just propagating this because it's the legal thing to do. Of course it is, but there's another reason for it as well. Just as every carpenter or cobbler has his set of tools, you must see Microsoft Word and Adobe as the tools that are essential to your practice in the profession. A computer by itself is only a toolbox. The software that you use are the actual tools of your trade, your profession, and you are going to need them. Microsoft Office today has an offering of 7,000 rupees annually for 5 seats. That means you can use it simultaneously on 5 computers. And this, by any arithmetic, works out to about 4 rupees per day per computer. Now, that's nothing, especially when you look at the cost of a cup of tea, or if you're adventurous, the cost of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Adobe Acrobat is more expensive. It's roughly 1,200 rupees per month per license. But if we look at it from the point of view of a single computer, it's working out to less than 50 rupees per day. And this covers any amount of documentation that you want to do, any amount of filing that you want to do. My recommendation is, please, for heaven's sake, do not attempt to do any of this with unlicensed software. That way there is only disaster and you're putting yourself and your practice at risk. You must absolutely have these 2 essential tools. Now, having said that, I will be introducing you to 2 other useful pieces of software which are also paid, but those are additions and they are not absolutely necessary. The other prefatory point that I want to make is you must back up. Please, let's understand this. As anybody in technology will tell you, backups are your lifeline. Software is replaceable. Computers are replaceable. You can buy another computer, you can buy another laptop, you can install the software again. Your data is your own and it is absolutely not replaceable. Nobody has the data that you have. In another session, we will look at several alternatives to data backups and whether backing up to the cloud for large volumes of data is or is not feasible. But the simplest way to do this is to buy an inexpensive external hard drive, one that you can get on Amazon with a sufficient capacity of about 1 terabyte and back up all your data onto that. Backup techniques and data backup techniques are a topic for another day. If there is sufficient demand for this, we will look at that. Coming back to this question of macros, just to give you an idea and a flavor of what can be done, and the various productivity shortcuts and improvements. We must understand this, that in its basic out-of-the-box form, most of us use less than, I think, 1% of what these software programs are actually capable of doing. Whatever you see here is entirely self-taught. And this is what I would encourage you to do is, as you go along and use the software, to please teach yourself and improve your efficiency and productivity skills. Every one of these pieces of software has inbuilt help. You just press the F1 key on your keyboard or use a web search and you will find some solution to whatever problem you have. I have seen too many people using these pieces of software in a most inefficient manner, using it in a slow and mechanical without realizing that there are lots and lots of hidden gems buried in Microsoft Office as well as Adobe Acrobat. Now let me give you an example and let me give you an explanation why we need these other shortcuts, programming macros, and an access to and knowledge of what I call these Easter eggs or hidden gems. They serve only one purpose. They lead to greater efficiency in document production and greater productivity. The general mantra is, if there is something that can be automated and can be done by the machine without requiring too much creative input, then you should let the machine do it and not have to go through it yourself each time. This is especially true of repetitive products. Now, I'll give you a few quick examples of how this can be used. And for that, I'm going to share the desktop. Mr. Yarlagada, please tell me if you are able to see this and interrupt me if you are not. Okay, I'm looking at a blank document which says at the moment in the High Court of Judicature at Bombay. I hope you're able to see this. If not, just let me know. Mr. Yarlagada, is the screen visible now?
Yeah, sir, it is visible, sir.
All right. Now, this is typically a document that you will draft, but I'm going to show you one or two very quick things just to give you an idea and a flavor of what is possible. Instead of, for example, typing in the High Court of Judicature at Bombay each time, you can create shortcuts which are available and which you can customize. I have typed TTL8C, and if I put a space after that, it will expand to this. I can do TTLT and IJ, which is my own created shortcut, put in a space, and it gives me testamentary and intestate jurisdiction. There are others, for example, now I've put in some random text, and you will see that This is a typical paragraph. The words are not typical. But here's another hidden gem in Word. If you press the F8 key twice, it selects the word. If you press it 3 times, let me just click this. It selects the sentence. And if you press F8 key rapidly 4 times, it selects the paragraph. Now this is an important tool because it completely and most effectively allows you to add, select portions that you want. You can also write code which allows you to do simple things like, for example, swap 2 words that are next to each other. So a quick brown fox over jumps instead of jumps over. Now you see where my cursor is, and I'm going to do that once again. You can even do this with an entire sentence and flip a sentence back and forth. You can move a paragraph up and down. If you like, I'm just putting in numbers. And these are quick codes that allow you to move a paragraph and swap paragraphs one against the other. Now, all of this is programming. Let me tell you where it becomes very, very interesting and productive. Now, many of us, when we start drafting documents, have to do a title for a document. Now, this is a customized version of Word, so you're not likely to see this in your own thing. These are things that I've done. But just to give you an idea of the flavors that are available, suppose you need to insert a course title where there is one plaintiff and one defendant. A simple macro allows you to do this and creates a table where you can then put in the name of the plaintiff on one side, put in whether he's petitioner or whatever it is on the other, and you have a neatly set up course title format. The possibilities are actually endless. I have code, for example, that expands this XXCR to court receiver. HFD always expands to hearing and final disposal. And this can go on. MCG will always expand to Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. You can actually type your documents in code. Now, there are many other variants of this. And let me give you one that I developed when I was in practice. When we are drafting documents, we often plaints or petitions, we put in exhibit numbers. Now just think of it like this. Exhibit A, Exhibit B1, B2, B3, Exhibit C, Exhibit D. And we need to keep a track of all of these. Wouldn't it be great if we had some automated system where the computer with a single keystroke could generate the next sequential exhibit number in whatever form you want, exhibit A, B, C, D, or exhibit A, C, D, E, or exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, and yet allow you to shuffle those around as you need, or delete and add, and then at the end of it, when you have finished with one more keystroke, put them all in the proper sequential order. I'm telling you, this can be done. I have written it. I can make it available. There is no problem, but we will have to defer that to the next session because we have several questions today and there will be more questions, I'm sure, coming up through the end of these. This, what I have just described, is perhaps the slightly more advanced level. I can't pretend that it is the most advanced level because take it from me that Microsoft Word does all kinds of things and is capable of all kinds of things that are seemingly impossible, but yet entirely achievable. I'm now going through of the questions that have come to us. Some of them will require sharing of, some of them are just discussion. The first two questions do not require sharing of a screen, so please follow this closely. The first question was, I think, based on a complete misunderstanding of what is required during the email or the e-filing. Let me explain that. The new process of e-filing will apply to filings that will happen from this point on. That is, new proceedings that are being generated for the first time. The question that was asked to me was, how do we convert old documents or older documents that are in Fullscap form into A4? That's the wrong question. There is no requirement of converting existing Fullscap documents into A4 in a scan. There is not. Nobody is asking you to do this. All that we are saying is that in future, when we start the e-filing or when you send documents by email in pure digital form, use the A4 format. Nobody is asking you to take your documents of 2010, which are in Fullscap form, and turn them into A4. Don't even try it. It's not necessary. The other question that is buried in this is simply this. I don't have a Fullscap scanner. How do I scan a Fullscap document? Now, that's a good question. There are three answers to this. Some printers, some printer scanners or combination devices have what is called a sheet feeder at the top, which allow you to specify the legal size. You can load your Fullscap pages into that. You'll have, of course, have to open them, and it will scan them in legal size. There's no problem to that. Adobe then allows you to actually resize the paper, but don't even have to go there. That scanning can be done. These scanners with sheet feeders can be more expensive than a regular or plain vanilla scanner. You may not want to invest that, fair enough. The alternative is to outsource it to one of these operators near the High Court. They have the hardware and they can scan them at high speed for you. The other alternative is actually to use your mobile. Remember this, the mobile phone has a camera. That camera is capable of lots of things, and this includes taking a snapshot and converting it into a scan. Now, there are lots and lots of applications. I want you to just be careful that you are not buying in or using or downloading an app that is on the presently banned list. Be cautious about that, please, because there could be other problems down that road. But there are several alternatives that are available on both the Android and the Apple platforms, and you can use these. There is one other suggestion that I could make, that this investment in infrastructure does not actually need to be individualized. Those advocates, especially the young advocates who are starting off, may consider getting together and pooling resources, which is really quite efficient. Pooling resources in the infrastructure. How you work that out is up to you. But if you share the costs of the hard infrastructure, it reduces the per head cost of having to buy these. Please, again, at the cost of repetition, bear this in mind, that there is no requirement of having to convert old existing hard copy Fullscap to A4 format. Please don't bother about this. It's not required. Whether it is A4 or it is Fullscap, it can be read on PDF. The other question that was tied to this is, do we need to scan all proceedings? Again, a very good question, and there are two answers to this. The first is usually yes. The question was, if I'm only moving the IA, the interim application, do I need the underlying plaint or petition complete with all the written statements and affidavits in reply? Well, look, if you are coming to a physical court and you give me the IA, I may very well need to see what your original plaint says or petition says. Being in a VC court is no different, and there must be access to that record as well. In a hybrid court, it is possible that a particular court will have access to the old physical papers, which means that you should make that inquiry first. That will the court be looking at the papers from the registry, in which case I do not need to scan the old paper, or will a court such as mine be operating entirely digitally and therefore will need a digital set of the entire old record. You should find out. If the record is required, you should produce it. But the answer is yes, the whole set is required. Now, here's the other answer. It goes back to what I said at the beginning about the importance of data, preserving data and backups. Simple mantra. Scan. The reason I'm telling you to do this is that this then serves as your data backup automatically. If you have a digital set, whether or not the court requires it, just think of the considerable uses to which you can put it. First of all, if at any time you need to reconstruct the record, you have the full digital data available to you and the record immediately reconstructed. Second, if you put it on a portable drive and are careful to keep that portable drive off-site, then that's an added precaution. God forbid there is some problem in accessing your office, perhaps due to an event, an act of God, whatever it is, and your papers are inaccessible, or in a worst case scenario lost, you at least have the digital backups. I can't stress this enough. It is absolutely vital. All right. Now, having said that, let's move to the next topic, which is the question of how to save to PDF from a doc format. Now, I'm going to this time share with you, and this is a doc version of a judgment I recently delivered, so it doesn't matter. It's already gone out and is in the public domain. But I will share with you now 2 or 3 different things about this doc. First, how to save efficiently to PDF. And secondly, we are going to look at now bookmark. OK, I will share a screen. Again, Mr. Yallagada, tell me if there is a problem when we share the screen and if you can see it clearly that the screen to be shared should show a doc file or docx file of a reportable judgment. Are you able to see that?
Yes, sir. It is.
Right.
So your mic is muted.
Now, this was a judgment that I did recently. It's been produced, and as you can see, this is in a docx format, which is the native format of Microsoft Word. If you have bought Adobe Acrobat, you should see also, if you follow the mouse, one menu called Acrobat. And if you click on that, it will give you a bunch of options. Including one which says create PDF. Now we are going to bypass this for the time being. And I'm going to show you the 4 methods, the 3 or 4 methods for converting to PDF. You click on File. This is the Word document, remember. Click on File and watch these. This Save As PDF, Adobe PDF, and Export. All right. Now we'll start with Save As. When you click as Save As, one of the things it'll give you is what is the option, this form here. What is the format? If you click this, you will see that there's a bunch of formats that you can save it as. You can save RTF, plain text, and so on and so forth. What you're looking for is PDF. You click on that, and then, and this is very, do not ignore this. There are more options. Click on that, and this will then open up a dialog box which will tell you where you want to save it, what is the name, and most importantly, there is this box of options. There are also these two options, which is for standard or minimum size, that is publishing online and printing, or minimum size, which is only for online. Do not worry about that, but please do click the options, and these are important. Now, this is what you want to publish, the document. PDF A compliant is a different standard. Ignore that for the time being, but please look at this form. Include non-printing information, create bookmarks using headings or word bookmarks. This gives you a choice of one or the other, and in the next few minutes I'm going to show you how to use both and what the result is. When you click OK on this and then save, this will save this as a PDF with the options that you have selected. All right. The second option is save as Adobe. Now this goes directly to trying to save it as the Adobe, and has gone and done this. It has generated it. But when you're again, there are options that are available to you. This is a slightly different set of options, because what has happened here is that Word is not saving this natively as Adobe, but Word is now triggering an Adobe product called Acrobat PDF Maker. You can see the name here. And this is now generating it. This is more flexible. This allows you to convert word headings and also word styles and word bookmarks, all to create PDF bookmarks. This is my preferred method of conversion because it is the most flexible. Okay. The third option is the export option. Now, if you straight away click create Adobe PDF, it will create the PDF on the default options that have been set and which you can adjust. But if you want to readjust them, click on create PDF XPS. Forget the XPS, that's a different standard. Click on create PDF XPS here as well. And once again, you will see these options, which are the old options that we first saw. This again is the same as save as, and then selecting PDF. My option is use the save as Adobe PDF. I'll tell you why. But before, I want to show you the fourth option, and I will be coming back to this again. This is a software that I use. It's licensed. It's well worth it. And I will show you in a minute why this has advantages. I use PDF Factory Pro. Let me explain what this is. It comes, you can buy these two products, Fine Print and PDF Factory Pro. Fine Print allows you to print in booklet format on virtually any printer, allows you to add stuff and so on and so forth. PDF Factory Pro has several advantages, and I'm going to show you this by making one sample print to PDF Factory Pro by just clicking print. Now, this is something that we must understand, that necessarily mean printing only to a printer that prints on paper. Printing can also mean printing to a file, create a file that sits on your computer, and this is what PDF Factory Pro does. If we click on print here, it will a separate dialog box, which I will share in just a minute. Sorry, man. But let me tell you what this does. Here we see it. Let me just share this screen with you. This is the PDF Factory Pro screen. This is what is going to generate the PDF. This is not in Adobe. This is not, you can see it here. It says PDF Factory Pro. Now look at what this is doing. I have printed this twice. You can actually add multiple documents in and create a single joint with all these documents one by one. Number one. Number two, when you go into settings, it will also create bookmarks, and it can create bookmarks from headings, though not from existing book. It also allows you to put in what are called page tags, and then you can put page numbering, which is available, which you can see at the bottom of the screen here. And this will automatically. Sorry.
Sir, screen is not shared, sir.
1 minute.
Yes.
Hold on a minute. Let's try this again.
Yes, sir. Kindly repeat, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute. Sorry, there was some problem with the screen sharing. Is this screen now visible to you?
No, sir. Window is only visible.
1 minute.
Yes.
You should now just give it a minute.
It is okay, yes, sir. It's visible now, sir. It takes a minute to show up.
Okay.
1 minute. Let me redo this so that I know what's happened here. Right. Now you should see it. Yes.
So just a sec.
Just give it a minute.
Just waiting it for load.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can see it now and sending it live.
Yeah. Now
yes, everyone can see it now.
Okay, so I need to repeat this. This is the interface of PDF Factory Pro when we have sent a document to print. I have sent the same document twice. This could be any set of documents. For example, it could be a document with your synopsis, a second document with your vakalatnama, a third document with your print, and you can print them all and it will generate one single PDF. You can move these documents up and down by just dragging them up and down, so you can rearrange the sequence of these documents. This is all in this additional software. In the settings, it allows you to specify the fonts, security, links, also does some level of bookmarking, and most importantly, it allows page numbering, which you can create by doing this by selecting what are called page tags. And if you want to say page 51 of 100, if you see the bottom of this screen, let me make that a little larger.
Struck? Is it struck, Chetan?
I think it is stuck. I think it might be your internet glitch for a moment.
Yeah.
I think it should be back. I think so. It's back now.
Yeah, now back.
Okay, we're back.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're back.
Okay, so we're looking at this screen, and what I have done is that I've created a page tag and given you page. I've of course made this font, a jumbo-sized font. The point only is that you can create a combined PDF of 2 or more documents using this add-on software, and also provide running serial numbers from page 1 to page 100. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that the judgment was only a 50-page or 51-page judgment. But just see how this is doing this. It is numbering every page of the combined PDF. That actually solves a lot of your page numbering problems when you want to get into that. That's the fourth method of creating a PDF. All right. Be careful, experiment with all of these. You may create multiple, but as I said, my preferred option is the one where you click on not save as, but use the Acrobat version to say save as Adobe PDF, maximum options. And I'll tell you why that becomes important. And for this, we now need to go into something called bookmarking. All of us struggle with this. Let me start by showing you PDF how bookmarking is done. And first, let's share this. Again, Mr. Yarlagada, report back, please.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now you should be seeing a PDF.
Yes, sir.
And
Visible,
the usual form in doing this is you place your cursor wherever you want it, and you either do Control B, which is the fastest way of doing this, or right click and say add bookmark. Now, everybody knows how to do this, but this is actually messy because what it creates is this untitled bookmark, and then you've got to go and number it and so on and so forth. Now, I don't want to actually do that. The question is, how do you auto-generate a set of bookmarks from Microsoft Word? This is again the Word document. There are two ways to do this. If I have bookmarks in Microsoft Word, I need to be able to translate them into the final PDF document. And is there another method of doing this? The answer to both is yes. Now, you can put a bookmark wherever you like in any PDF document. It will not be visible to you, but you can always put it there. Now, the command is on the ribbon here, insert bookmark, but a shortcut for doing this is to press F5 or Control G. I have, of course, changed this, and I have added here two bookmarks, one for course title and one for appearances. Now, about bookmarks, please remember a couple of things. Bookmarks cannot start with a number in Microsoft Word. They have to start with a letter. They cannot have spaces or punctuation, but only underscores. You can therefore have a bookmark called Synopsis, another bookmark called Vakalatnama, and a third bookmark called Petition, a fourth called Prayers. You can't have a bookmark which says 01 Synopsis, 02, it won't accept it. What happens when you create bookmarks is that they remain there and you can always access them wherever you want by pressing Control G or F5 and then going to the selected bookmark. So that's its first use, to navigate around your own document. We are going to use it for the next purpose, which is to create the bookmark actually to export to PDF. Now, again, let me show you, and here again, Yellagada, tell me whether I'm wrong. You can see this. I'm showing you the Bookmarks panel. Yes, I have created two bookmarks called Appearances and Course Title. They have appeared here. All right. Yes. Now, because I wanted them like this, they came as BM02, but I delete these or change their name to just Appearances and just Course Title. It wouldn't matter. All right. There is another very interesting feature of this. Please pay attention to this set here, the headings. These are what are called styles. Now you can customize your own style, which is the next level, or you can use Microsoft Word's default styles. And you generally don't need to use more than heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. In a document, this is of course in my judgment, but you could use this in your own drafts. For example, where you say synopsis, You could apply this style heading 1, this style, to the word synopsis. When you apply it, it changes the format and it appears slightly differently. You can adjust that formatting, it doesn't really matter. But that text is then rendered in that particular style, that is to say whether it is centered, the font size, and so on and so forth. You can tell this because at the moment, if I've clicked on contents here, it's showing me that it is in heading 1 style, whereas this is in the normal style, but litigation background is again in the heading styles. Each of these captions is therefore being rendered in a heading style. Now, again, why is this important? Because when we click on Save as Adobe PDF, look at the option. One of the options is convert word headings to bookmarks or convert word styles to bookmarks and convert word bookmarks. Now, this is what I did, and I'm going to now show you the resultant PDF, which is here. These were all styles that were set in the doc file. I simply exported and it came pre-packaged with bookmarks already built in. I didn't have to do anything. I needed to renumber the first one and I deleted one, but that you can do and you can adjust these and move these up and down. But this is the fastest and most efficient way of creating bookmarks in PDF by using Microsoft Word's bookmarking and styles feature. It is really the most efficient way to do it. If you're clever, you really want to use this intelligently, what you must use is something that I call invisible text with a style. Let me explain that. Suppose you want to create a bookmark, but you don't, and you know what the bookmark name is, but you don't want to have it appear in the printed page. Fine. You put in the text that you want as a style. You choose the style in Word. And let me go back and show this. This is litigation background. And I've created this as a heading 1 style. But I want this to completely disappear and not be seen, but the style to remain. I can just change this to white. Now, in the printed text, this won't show, but the text is still there. I've just changed the color of the font to merge it with the background. And the result is this bookmark will automatically reflect in the PDF document that you generate from this. This works for all e-filing. This is well worth considering. It is a great advantage to be able to use this because it saves a lot of time in trying to generate bookmarks in PDF. All right. We are moving to another question. And again, I will stop the share for a moment to explain and give you a background of that. And this is the question of how do I collect multiple documents into a single PDF and how do I do page numbering? Now, one method, as I showed you just now, was to use PDF Factory Pro, which is available from fineprint.com. It's a very powerful paid software, the one that we just saw, but it's by no means the only one. I find it the most efficient one for a variety of purposes. There may be others. One other alternative, which is possible and is exceedingly powerful, is an online service from smallpdf.com. Now, again, I will very quickly share that screen with you, which is this one.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
And this does all kinds of things. It compresses the PDF. It converts Word, PowerPoint to and from PDF. It converts PPTs. It allows you to number pages, delete PDF, rotate them, split them, merge them, and it does this all online. It allows you to unlock PDFs. So for example, you know, those bank statements that we get that are password protected. If you drop it here, put in the password, it generates another PDF, which is unlocked for your own use or your accountant's use. But it allows you all kinds of the most helpful that I have found. There are various modes of subscription, and this is a method also of converting your Word document to PDF that is also built in to the entire range of services that are available here. All right. But for our present purposes, what Smallpdf also does is that it allows you to take 2 or more PDF documents, merge them into one, and generate a single resultant PDF. You can also use it to shuffle pages around in the PDF. But this is a third-party software. How much software are you going to keep adding? It's not necessary to do that. There are other methods of doing this. And for this, now let us look at Adobe Acrobat itself. There are very powerful features that are available in Acrobat. I am not going to look at in this set, look at the part of it. We will look at that for the present. I will deal with the Adobe document, and this is the same judgment that we saw, but this is now available. This has now been rendered in the PDF with, as we have seen, the pre-packaged bookmarks that came from there. Now, in the normal Adobe Acrobat screen, most people look at this. What they don't realize is the power of what are called tools that are built into Adobe. Now, there are many things for sharing, commenting, stamps, etc., etc. But look at 2 or 3 combined files, organize pages, edit, export, and scan and OCR. These 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are actually your most useful on a daily basis. And I would add to these one called Optimize PDF for creating more compact PDFs. Now, I will look at each one of these in the context of the document that we now have open. When you click on, these are available to you, and usually they come with the word add. When you click on add, it puts it into a sidebar here so that you can use it immediately along with every document. For example, they're all available on the sidebar here. Now, let us look at combine files. Now, what this does here is that it allows you to add files to an existing PDF file. If you have more than one PDF open, you can add all the open files. Let's try adding one more. All right, this was a recipe. Perhaps it's available. All right, this was a recipe. And you get and has actually got both files built into it because it has now got the recipe, and below that you will have a copy of my judgment as well. As you see, both of them have come into a single PDF document. All right, we'll close this. We won't use that. Then the other option is organized page, and this is a very useful one because what it does is that it takes your existing PDF and explodes it into its individual pages. Now you can then manipulate every one of these pages. You can shuffle the order back and forth. You can delete a particular page, and if you click on insert, you can add an entire page or set of pages or an entire PDF file from some other source and specify where you want it to be included. This is which document I want and where do I want to put it, and it will allow you to put it wherever you want, either after page 1 or after page 10 or right at the beginning of the document or right at the end of the document. And you can also use it to split the document into multiple files or to replace portions or pages within a file. This allows you extensive work with individual pages of a PDF document. Make sure that you save this routinely. This is the other method of doing this. The third, and this is important, is for continuous page numbering. Now, really, PDF's page numbering is, in my view, not directly useful to us for a variety of reasons. There is a powerful facility called Bates, BATES numbering, which is useful for numbering sections and section wise. That's not really what we want. So this becomes a little difficult. But the easiest way is to do continuous page numbering, and that is to use this facility called Edit PDF. And it then has a feature to allow a header and footer to. Now, that header and footer can be anything. And if you want the page number at the top right, you can just insert it and it will show each time on every page. You can also select the font and the font size. So I'll just make it a nice big font size and it will appear here on every single page of the PDF and it will number it. So page 1 and then page 2 will be similarly numbered, etc. You of course need to be careful about where you want to position this, but that's quite easily done. This can be added and repeated as often as you like, and the entire page can be manipulated. Therefore, there are multiple routes to collate and handling PDFs. Combining more than one, you can use PDF Factory Pro, which we saw. You can use Smallpdf. You can use Acrobat itself to take one PDF and combine it with another. You can use the organized pages function to add an entire PDF at the end or beginning or middle or wherever you like of another PDF. And you can then finish your work with adding a comprehensive header or footer so that everything has pre-printed page numbering. The resulting PDF will be completely organized the way you want it, with PDF page numbering ready for filing, except for one thing. And this is the next question, which is what is OCR in PDF? And that is this tool that we see, Scan and OCR. And why do we need it? Because very often you have text that has been captured as an image. It is not generated from Word. It is a scan, and it is a scan of text material. but it hasn't been run through optical character recognition, and you can't search for text within. So if you click on the tools for scan and OCR, it gives you options what is called recognized text. Forget about the base numbering for the moment. It also allows you to enhance the scan document, which is to auto improve the quality of the document. But the recognized text lets you run the OCR on that file. You can specify the pages, this page or multiple pages, the language, and what it then does is that it turns the document, which was a scan of an image of text, into something that is machine as text. You can then search for actual text in that. You can copy and paste. You can do all those manipulations with scan and OCR. When do you need scan and OCR? Actually, not very often. The new filing standards will require you to have the document in machine readable format, but we acknowledge that there will be documents that cannot be rendered like this. Typically, for example, graphic text can't be rendered like this. There may be some documents that have, for example, those rubber stamps covering up part of the text that is obscure. This also becomes sometimes a problem. We acknowledge all of this. But there will be other times when you will need to have the document as OCR, or you may be asked to scan the document with OCR. And this is the way to do this in Adobe Acrobat. Another question that was asked was, how do we remove markings, sidelines, underlines, scratches, stamps that appear in scans of old documents? Well, there are ways of doing this. They are quite complex. They require a great deal of care and attention. And my advice to you is, don't bother. Unless it's absolutely essential to remove that marking, you shouldn't bother. People we have contracted with use very advanced techniques and tools to clean up PDF documents. This is not something that should bother you very much at this stage. The cleanup is possible by using one or more of the drawing tools that are available in Adobe, including editing text. You would have to actually select the portion, then remove it, then cut it, then replace it, fill it with a color. I wouldn't recommend this. Now, one of the things I must tell you is that when Microsoft Word generates PDFs, it often generates very bulky PDFs. These can be problematic when you want to ship them or export them. The software that I introduced you to, PDF Factory Pro, for instance, actually creates much more compact PDFs. My suggestion, which you should all follow, is when you're handling PDFs and Microsoft Word, please do not use fancy fonts. They don't translate well, and if they are required to be embedded in the PDF, it can create a very bulky PDF indeed. You should use the standard fonts, and in fact, the e-filing rules that are proposed now tell you what fonts to use, which is basically use Times New Roman in a 14-point size. This is most readable. It is translated, and because it is available on almost every system, does not require to be embedded and results in a very compact PDF. But if you do want to compress a PDF, There are again two solutions to this. The first is to use Acrobat itself and click on Save As in the File menu. And one of the options that is available here is Reduce File Size. Now, this does a reasonably efficient job of compressing them by as much as 50%. So a 300 and odd KB file, which is typically generated by a 70 KB Word document, will shrink to about 151 or 154 kilobytes, which is a great saving. Now, there are other compression techniques that are available in print production, optimized PDF and PDF standards. At this stage, I wouldn't touch those unless you know what we are dealing with. Now, here I must tell you that the short method of also doing this is to merely use the optimized PDF tool, because built into that is this option of reduce file, or pretty much the same thing. There's also optimized scan pages. Pre-flight requires a lot of processing power and a lot of knowledge of what exactly you're doing, because there are all kinds of things that can be done. And then there is this advanced optimization, which is a separate thing altogether. I wouldn't do that. I would look at reduced file size or optimized scan pages as being more than sufficient for the present needs. Now, let me just stop sharing this so that we can get back to the main screen. Yes, here we are. Now, finally, the other options that are available in Smallpdf Pro could conceivably make a lot of your work much easier, but remember this, the facility or feature of Smallpdf Pro requires you to have internet access and typically to use on it. The last aspect on which I want to spend a little time is how do you achieve all of this on your phone? Well, very, very difficult. The Adobe Acrobat version that is available on the phone has far fewer features than what is available on the desktop version. The equivalent software on the Android platform, at least, that deals with Office applications like Word and Excel, is also difficult to manage and doesn't translate well. So the answer is that much of this is not going to be possible on a phone, or at least I have not found a method to do this. I'm sure there are others who can. Now, I'm going to stop here for a reason. I suspect that there will be questions asking me to repeat some or more of what I have covered. I'm happy to do that because the next step that I want to get to is a little more tricky and complicated in terms of what we can do in Microsoft Word. I will give you a sort of preview or a jhalak of what is possible in a few minutes. But I'll ask Mr. Yerlagada and Dr. Saraf if they have any requests for a repeat of any of the ground covered. I would like to take the time to do that now, because none of this is not going to be possible to be repeated later.
Just open the Q&A 11:45.
Yes.
So I will have to just wait for a few moments to know if anybody wants a repeat.
Yeah, sure. So then let's do that, and then let's otherwise go to the questions, because I want to then give you an example of what we're talking about when we're talking about automation in Microsoft Word and what it will actually involve. How to get there.
The flow of questions will take 5-10 minutes, sir. There is a question that says how to convert image stroke picture to PDF.
Correct. Okay, and anything else? Let's take them. Image conversion.
Sir, just now we have opened. It will take some time to get the questions, sir.
We started the Q&A at 11.
All right. Okay. Let's take the first question. How do you convert a image to a PDF? There are two ways to do this. The one way is in the PDF itself. Share the screen with you again. Let me just hold on a minute. Let me find that. This one. Right. One of the ways to do that is a tool that is available in Edit, and one of the options it gives you is Add Image. Let us say you've got a JPG file lying somewhere and that you need to include this. If you click on Add Image, it will ask you what image you need to add to it, and it will add this. Let me just demonstrate this. It'll be a little slower if I do this with the sharing, so I'll stop sharing for a moment and then I'll come back to this in a minute. Just 1 minute. Yes. Getting this done. Okay, let me share this again. Okay. I have taken the same document that we were working on, my judgment, and I've added this image that I had found somewhere. How did I do it? To edit PDF. Say add image. Then it shows me where I want to draw the image from. So you select whichever image that you want. I selected one of these, the Elephanta image. You can check whichever one you want. And what Adobe does is that it then takes the image, which is you see here, and it adds it, and then you can drag it and move it around and position it on your page. When you close, you now have two documents in your PDF. This is actually the simplest way to do this. The other method of doing this is to use that additional software of PDF Factory Pro, print the image, its own PDF file, then combine the images. Much more complicated, entirely possible, useful when you're collecting a bunch of them. But if you want to insert an image in the body of a document, this is one way to do this. Typically in an IPR suit, when you want to show rival images in the PDF, you can leave a blank page or insert a blank page and you can generate it like this. Yes, okay, I'll stop the sharing of this just now and go to the next question if there is one.
There is a question from a number of people that if you already have Acrobat DC or Acrobat DC Pro,
yes,
one still require a PDF Factory Pro, or are they same?
No, you do not require PDF Factory Pro at all. I'm just saying that there are advantages to PDF Factory Pro, which put everything into one place. For example, combining multiple documents immediately. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose I have a Word document called synopsis.docx, another one called petition.docx, and a third one called vakalatnama.docx. These are 3 separate documents. You can create a PDF of each of these and use Acrobat DC Pro to combine them. No problem. It can happen. With PDF Factory Pro, you can print them one by one. It will print all of them sequentially, and it will generate a single combined PDF at the end of it. That's one great advantage. It's very fast, it's very efficient, and it does this very well. It's clearly optional. It's not essential. You can achieve the same thing. There are fewer steps. PDF Factory Pro is just an efficient way to go about this.
Yes. So, sir, effectively what you mean is both of them have similar features. Only thing you are much more happier with the user-friendly features of PDF Pro.
I find it faster, Biren, and more efficient to use this because I don't have to then open multiple PDFs, combine them, and so on and so forth. This generates one which has everything in it.
Right, sir. And one question is,
it allows me to do sequential page numbering across a bunch of documents from 1 to whatever.
There is another question, that is Foxy Phantom a good substitute for Acrobat?
I think it's a very good thing. I actually downloaded it in a trial version because it's significantly cheaper than Adobe Acrobat Pro. It's half the price. I recommend it strongly. The reason I haven't been able to use it is that on both my systems, it threw up some errors that I could not resolve. This could possibly have been a conflict because of something in my systems. I didn't spend very much time on it. I do propose to get back to it at some point or the other, but the reviews and the reports say it is really excellent and it loads very fast. And the interface is somewhat different, so you may find some of the same things, but organized differently. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not able to go into that.
Right. Siddharth Murarka has a request to repeat the portion where you said the list was created and where para and page numbers were shown.
Sorry?
You want you to repeat
Which
the
list?
How the list was created where paras and page numbers were shown. Is there a method of creating a list where para and page numbers are shown?
No. That was a table that he's talking about, the head of the judgment of this judgment where I created this list.
Yes.
I will do this on the. This is actually creating a table of contents, and I can. Okay, we'll park that. Let's finish the other questions. I'll come back to that. That's one of the things we can do. Yeah.
Then there is a question that can you please repeat the compression part?
Yes. For PDF.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let me share the screen again. Again, please tell me when it shares correctly, because otherwise we'll go haywire. Okay, this is the PDF that we're looking at. And whatever the size, when you want to compress it, there are 2/3 of doing. One is to use the tool called Optimize PDF, which you can see here. If you click on Optimize PDF, it gives you these options, which includes reduce file, the entire PDF. You get, as I said, about a 40 to 60% saving in the file size. The other is to simply use the file save as feature that is in Adobe Acrobat Pro DC, and when you're saving the file, use this option, reduce file size. Once you reduce the file size, you'll be able to generate a file which is much more compact. That's the fastest way to do this. The third way to do this, let me tell you, is to use the online paid feature, which is Smallpdf. Again, let me just fire that up and share that screen with you. Again, it's a third-party service. It's available, and you can actually use bulk compression. It has this compress PDF. It allows you to set the compression settings, and you can do more than one PDF at a time. It just generates the whole lot one by one in a very compressed ABC versus XYZ dash compressed.pdf. It's quite efficient. That's the third method. Yes.
One question is that is it helpful for the court if the synopsis index are hyperlinked to all documents and exhibits?
Very. Right, sir. Because a simple click.
Sorry, there's some network problem of yours.
Oh, sorry. My network.
Mr. Yallagada, can you hear Justice Patel properly?
Just give me 1 minute, and if there is an issue, let me just.
Or we'll put off our screens.
No, it's okay. Now just see if this is all right.
Yeah, we can hear you much better, sir.
Okay.
So there is a request on repeating the optimal scan, sir. Is that the same as compressing, sir?
No. Yes. Optimizing is for compression. That's the same thing that I just repeated. Optimized scan gives you various options, including reducing the file size. There are other optimization features there, but it's the best way for reducing the file size.
Sir, there are a lot of questions which relate to more of e-filing. I'm going to avoid them today because more of
Biren, that's why I left more time. This is a concern for many people. So if you can just collect them, let's deal with them.
There is a lot of issue on the signature part of it, sir, on digital signatures and client signature, which we had discussed last time also, of how to, affix signatures. Will digital signatures be okay? Will a lawyer's signature be okay? Now we need a clarity on that, sir. If you could have a word with the E-committee and some clarity.
That is being separately considered, because this will apply even for the new e-filing systems for authentication, and it will be a problem for authentication and verification of, let us say, amendments or compliance documents and so on and so forth. So this is a question that is yet to be resolved, and we have to get into this. Yes, I don't have a ready answer to this.
Sure, sir, but we are working on it, and hopefully we'll have some guidelines in this.
Yes. In fact, Biren, my request to the Bar Association would be that these questions, actually, if they were collated and submitted through the registry, is something that we'll be able to take up directly in a very focused manner. There should be no difficulty with this. Actually, let me put it this way. From our perspective, this is as critical an issue, because we don't want a situation where somebody says, that's not the plaint that I affirmed. We want that security to come in, and we require that as well.
We'll work on it and we'll give a representation.
Correct.
Then there is a question, sir, that in the last session you had mentioned about sharing the list details of 13 main documents required for e-filing. Can you please share the same and shed some light on it?
No, that's the list that there's no fixed list. I was only saying that
you had said
that the list should be in sequential numbers in the manner in which I put it up in my notices. And all I'm saying is that whether there is a notification or not, if everything is being e-filed for the consideration and betterment of the associates as well, if you number the documents sequentially, I'm not concerned with what numbering method that you use. You can go from 1 to infinity, but just number each document in sequence so that when somebody prints it or reads it digitally, it is in that correct sequence. It's downloaded in that sequence.
Can't we just have a practice note which says start numbering from index page number 1 or something like that? We have now a system whereby we are numbering indexes as ABCD.
But we can. we can, but why is a practice? It's just a practice. Where is the practice note for telling you that the synopsis that doesn't come at the end but comes above? Sometimes the only practice note is use your common sense.
True, sir. I guess.
If a physical filing has to be in a particular sequence, your digital filing also must be in a particular sequence. The only way to put it a digital filing in sequence is to give it numbering. That's all.
That's right. And sir, there's another question that if the office copy is highlighted, how do you remove the highlighting before filing? That's the point which you said is a little complex.
You mean the physical copy is highlighted?
Yes.
Impossible.
That's a very difficult task.
Impossible. And that will be a problem in the scanning as well.
Right, sir. Then there are.
In fact, as a general, I strongly recommend that there should be two sets. There should always be one master set that is not touched with any markings, and that everybody should then use working copies either in soft copy or in hard copy, which they can mark up as they like. And that may have your own notes or whatever it is, but that master copy should not be touched. And that's a lifeline in any practice where any firm or advocate needs to preserve that record. But counsel may not need.
Even for photocopying, the same thing applies, sir. If you have a.
Of course. The technology is exactly the same. The technology is the same. The photocopier is taking a scan and giving you a print. That's all that a photocopier is doing. That's all that a photocopier is doing.
Even if you were to operate on physical copies, you could have removed those markings. So you have to put in that.
Correct.
There's a question that is there a procedure whereby once a PDF files are loaded to the registry, we can get a certified copy of the PDF or something?
Why would that?
I won't know, sir. Maybe if it's lost or something and people do not have it or some crash or something like that. If there's
I don't know how authenticated. Well, there are methods of doing this. I mean, you can send it back with an authenticated digital signature or some form of encryption or digital signature verification. That's entirely possible. I don't know why you would need it, but we'll have to look at that and how it can be reissued.
Then there is a question that you have used some short codes. Can they be shared?
Okay, let me. All right, let me quickly explain to you what that list of codes is. It's a long list developed over many years of actually hands-on typing. So let me just share the screen again, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hold on a minute.
In fact, we have to be very sure that when we use the short codes, sir, you don't use words which are usual terminology. Otherwise, that word keeps coming in a full form if you try to type that word.
That's correct. So you have to be a little careful about that. But I mean, I'm saying it's not such a big thing. Hold on a minute. Okay, now this is what is called the autocorrect box, and this has a long list of all the shortcuts that I have used over a period of time. It's entirely individualistic. Each one has this of Mumbai postal codes, where if I was to do Mumbai 79, Mumbai-79, it would probably expand to this, because I just find this the easiest way to do this. 1P typed like this. In my case, let me just do the few. So 1P, for example, whenever I do this, always expands to first plaintiff. 1 pet becomes first petitioner, 1R becomes first respondent. Now, the reason I've just done this over time because it's just much faster typing, and you can take entire paragraphs or standard clauses. Now, for such further and other reliefs as the nature and circumstances of the case may require, can be reduced to a simple thing like FSOR. You just type FSOR, unique words that don't mean anything else, and it will expand to that entire phrasing. Now, we very often say RT and I should write title and interest. Now, I don't want to constantly have to type all of this. It's standard phraseology. It should come through, and this is one way to do this. This is only part of what Word is capable of doing. There's a whole programming interface that lies behind it, and this, which I'm showing you just now, is the actual coding that goes into many of these. These are all little bits and pieces of code that I have written and developed over a period of time to do what I needed to do. For example, this one called cause title many to many generates a table where there are multiple plaintiffs or multiple petitioners and multiple defendants, formats that table and sets it out for you so you can start typing directly into that table. There's a whole bunch of things for emphasis, inserting, adding styles, selecting, paragraph numbering, and so on and so forth. Any of these, some of these are actually useful. Some I don't really use very much now anymore, of course. But in another session, I will actually try and package them and make them available to you. I don't think there's any point in people trying to learn programming and code at this stage. But and that's why I've left it out of this. It has nothing to do with the e-filing. It is only improving productivity in the use of Word, which is something different, with a different topic.
Right, sir. In fact, sir, people will find it that if they once they put this short text in their devices, then all throughout their devices, including for WhatsApp or everything, this is usable. So it comes very handy because
I'm not sure about how to use it in WhatsApp, but it's certainly usable in wherever Word is installed. I'll show you how to save those files. They're called autocorrect language or ACL files. And once you have them, it's just absolutely wonderful because you can put in.
I realize that for my Apple devices, they are synchronized all through my devices. That if somebody asks me,
you can now you just let me just do one very quick share and then we'll move on. Now this is something that we use. So Arbitration Act. So I'm just doing Arb Act full and Arbitration Conciliation Act 1996. Now, I don't want to have to type this with the capitalization every single time. This just does this. And for long statutes like SICA, which have a complicated thing in brackets, or Bombay Tenancy and Agricultural Lands, Prevention of Landholdings. Who's going to type all that?
It's very helpful. In fact, sir,
very useful. Very fast.
Short codes for office address as OFFADD. So
correct.
It asks you for an office address.
And it generates that
with the phone number and everything. It goes.
Everything. You can even set the format for it and so on. That's one of two ways of doing this. That's the autocorrect, and the other is an auto text, where in the new version of Word you can actually create what are called blocks. They're just blocks of text, and you can incorporate them wherever you like, including your standard paragraphs at the end of a plaint or a petition. Judges can't use this very much because very little that we do is in that sense standard. But anyway,
except for dismissed or allowed, sir. Maybe.
That we have. For that we have rubber stamps written. Don't worry.
Sir, there is a question that what happens to the auto pagination created by Microsoft Office after the paging command given in PDF?
You can actually perhaps the correct way to do it is to eliminate the auto paging in Microsoft Word. So you generate an unpaged document and then you generate the paging in PDF. That is something that you have to decide because you could otherwise have a confusing set of double page numbers. You have have to switch that off. Now you have to switch the auto paging off. You can switch it off. If you want to go back to Murarka's question, the trick is to generate a table of contents and in the same document. And let me share that again just now quickly. That's available in the References tab, and you click on Table of Contents. It's not creating paragraph numbers. That is manual, and it gives you the variety of formats for the table of contents. If you click on Custom Table of Contents, it will tell you whether you want to show the page numbers, right align them, and use hyperlinks or page numbers. You click off hyperlinks, and what it actually does is that it scans the document. Wherever it finds the heading style that you have used, it includes that in a table of contents with the relevant page numbers next to it. Reformatting this is actually just mechanical and window dressing, and I wouldn't worry too much about that, at least not today.
Oh, that's it.
See, the combination in that is to make sure that you use styles for your captions and then generate a table of contents using those styles. The styles therefore allow you to do two things. First, generate a table of contents, and secondly, when exporting to PDF, to create bookmarks in PDF. Lots of advantages.
Right. Then there's a question, sir, how do we do the automated exhibit numbering?
That you can't. That you have to wait for the next session when I will share with you code that I have written that allows you to do this. And let me tell you, it's a set of codes. It's a code block. I actually propose to refine it so that it begins by asking you what you want to do, exhibit or annexure, and whether you want to follow the ABC sequence or the 1, 2, 3 sequence. And let me explain what that does. I no longer use it, so I've actually removed it from this version. I'll have to bring it back in. Let's say you're starting with a petition and you've got exhibit A, which is 1 keystroke. When you do the next exhibit, it will automatically number it as B. The next one will be C. Suppose you delete B, you shouldn't be left with A and C. What this does is that you select the whole document, press 1 key, and it renames those exhibit numbers to A, B, D in correct sequence. You can also add 1 in between and then renumber the lot. You can also go A, B1, B2, B3, C, D1, D2, D3, E1, E2, E3, F. So it allows you all those combinations. Basically, it's using a feature in Microsoft Word called insert field, and it's inserting the word exhibit, and it's inserting a numerical field, an alphanumeric field after that, which it updates whenever you remove it. It's inserting the field and making sure the field is in a sequential sequence, in a sequential numbering sequence.
So
but it was when I was drafting, it was one of the useful things, because otherwise keeping a track of the exhibit numbers and where they go is extremely confusing.
Right. Then there is a question that what should be the minimum size or maximum size of a PDF? What should an ideal maximum size of the PDF be?
On the e-filing, we are going to have a limit of 50 megabytes for the upload. But look, it's dictated by external factors. Now, Gmail is not letting you attach more than 25 MB to an email. The individual file doesn't matter, because PDF will open a 65 megabyte file or a 150 megabyte file. There's no problem with it. That only depends on how good your hardware is. That's not a problem. But if you're transmitting documents, it's better to transmit a number of compact PDFs rather than one large, humongous PDF. It's better to have several small PDFs. I don't think that you'll be able to generate a PDF with exhibit numbers and some images of less than 1 to 2 MB anyway. pure text, you can bring it down to about 300-400 KB. But anything with images will immediately make it. And if the entire document is scanned from hard copy as an image, it will be a really huge PDF file. Because it just got bound. These are pictures of pages, not actually text.
Then there's a question, sir, that can we use all these while using, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right, Ubuntu operating system?
I don't think that I'm not sure that they work on Ubuntu. I don't. Of course, Smallpdf is online, so it's an online service. I haven't checked whether Fine Print and PDF Factory Pro are available for Ubuntu or Unix, and I don't know what Microsoft Word or Adobe does for Ubuntu systems. I'm sure there must be some equivalence for that. There must be.
Right. So there are a lot of questions, and I'm just making this announcement for the people who've asked that all those questions on signature, notarizing, as Justice Patel said, please send your recommendations to your Secretary of the Bar Association. Maybe Mr. Nilesh Modi can help us gather all these recommendations.
Let me tell you why we're having this. It's very difficult to deal with every advocate's individual question, and at the committee level, we need to set one standard that is in consonance with what has been set out by the Supreme Court's E-Committee. Yes. Now, many of these questions will get answered once those e-filing rules are themselves released, because this covers it.
Absolutely.
If there are any other ambiguities or questions to be asked after that, we'll deal with that, including authentication of amendments, how to effect the amendment in a digital copy. We'll get to that. But this is jumping the gun. Those emails have already been circulated. Right. I think it's a matter of a week or so.
No, otherwise also these questions are quite repetitive. So, sir, if you all have individual emails, you'll be facing the same question.
It's not possible to deal with that.
Impossible situation, sir. Then there are questions, sir. Can the procedure followed for online registration of leave? No, this is all. Sir, is e-filing in A4 format only applicable to Justice Patel's court, or is across the courts for all honorable judges in the Bombay High Court?
It's a mistake. It is a mandate from the Supreme Court. Applies e-filing where you're up documents. The rule itself, which is pending sanction.
Sir, your voice is lost.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, a little.
Just
I think, sir, maybe changing his internet connection. So I think he'll be back in a minute or two. Yeah, sir, your mic is muted in case you're saying something.
Yes, sir. Dr. Serap, sir.
Yes, sir.
There are some short questions relating to this session conducted by His Lordship. Very, very short questions.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest.
Sorry, is this? Am I audible again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Sir, I was suggesting there are short questions.
If there are any issues, please go ahead and please ask the questions which you think are of importance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very short. Sir, there are short questions on the same subject, sir. Very short.
Yes.
How, sir? First question was, how was the list created where para and page number was shown?
I've just answered that. That was by creating a table of contents.
Yes,
that was
sir.
Mr. Murarka's question.
Yes, sir. That is done, sir. Next question, sir. How do I upload papers for an existing matter listed with a new interim application? You want to upload papers existing in an existing case, listed case.
The only way to do that is where there's no upload. The only way to do that presently is to scan the papers and email them to that designated email address.
Sir, that is the same question, sir. Is it okay to email annexers separate from the petition?
Yes, yes, as long as it clearly says that these are the annexures to the petition. So, for example, I would say I would call the PDF file 04-petition.pdf and the next one 05-exhibits A to D, A-D.pdf or petition exhibits A-D.pdf, so that you know that one follows the next. There is no requirement that the exhibits in the email filing must be part of the petition itself.
In fact, if the guidelines of Justice Patel, when he sits for e-court are seen, this procedure is set out in great detail of how they should be numbered and how they should be filed to some extent.
It works quite efficiently because I'm reading them digitally, and in any case, even if the associate is printing them out, it's very useful to have them like that.
Sir, may I put next connected question, sir?
Yes.
Will the Adobe e-sign be considered as valid for e-filing? No.
It will have to be government issued digital signatures only.
Yes, sir.
Because otherwise there are too many vulnerabilities in this.
Sir, next question is, sir, currently the client is unable to sign the document. So is it okay for the advocate to undertake on behalf of the client?
I don't know. There must be some standing order to that effect. That has nothing to do with what we're discussing just now.
That's why
whether on a matter of procedure, Mr. Yerlagada, it is possible that the registry will tell you.
Yes.
There must be some standing instruction or order. That has nothing to do with the software.
Sir, now technical question, sir. If I don't have paid version of Adobe, but I create bookmarks on Word and convert the same to PDF, can still have those bookmarks in PDF?
Yes, of course, because the free Adobe Reader will show the bookmarks. You don't need the paid version of Acrobat to create the bookmarks from bookmarks in Word and to export them. You don't need that at all. You don't need Acrobat DC at all. You can just export them from Word. And when you open it up in the free Adobe Reader, you'll see the bookmarks. That's perfectly possible. Adobe Reader will not allow you to manipulate the PDF document that is generated. It will only allow you to read it. That's the difference.
Sir, very small questions related to that. What happens to the auto pagination created in MS Office? I just answered that, saying delete the auto pagination and create continuous pagination only at the time when you're printing through PDF Factory Pro or in the final PDF that you have generated after you have combined multiple PDFs. You'll have two sets of page numbers. Yes. How do we do the automated exhibit numbering? Again, bookmark
but that I've just answered, saying that that's a bunch of macros and codes that I've written. So on the next session, when we have time, I'll explain how that is to be done. And I will make them available. I haven't looked at them in years now.
These questions were already asked by me.
Yes, sir.
It's
all covered by Dr. Saraf.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Is there anything else? Okay. I don't know.
Send you maybe the physical questions like a list like last time. Otherwise, they'll be never ending.
Yes, and Biren, I want to ask you one other thing. I do not know, and I have no means of assessing this, whether there is sufficient interest from practitioners for using some of these methods of productivity, the shortcuts, the macros.
It's flooded with messages saying please.
To make one more session worthwhile. I don't know.
No, sir. We are flooded with these messages saying that please tell us. They are saying Lordship guidance is invaluable. Please tell him to give us all this. There are questions on voice, voice typing softwares that how The
voice recognition, yes, I can do that.
yeah,
dragon.
They're all very asking me.
Full feature.
Really keen to hear all this, sir.
All right, look, I'll tell you what I will have to do is that if this will have to be a separate dedicated session, and actually let me tell you, it's much more difficult because I would need people to be at their machines following while I'm doing this, so we can actually do a sort of online tutorial. In a physical space, everyone with a machine, I would have actually gone around and seen what was happening, but it has to go step by step because there are some changes that you have to make to Microsoft Word's settings, those built-in settings. We have to navigate all of that. That's a complex, slow exercise and has to be done systematically so everything doesn't get jumbled up. Let me know and we can schedule that because, you know, this is also being done through SCC. And if the Academy and if the Chief Justice permits, we can yes. do that. Mr. Yarlagar, you follow that
yes,
up. Follow that
yes,
up.
Yes,
we'll
yes,
do that in a couple of, but it will take me a week or so to prep all of that. So it's not something I'm going to be able to.
Something on reading of PDFs, how most effectively to read PDFs, and that might also be a very helpful part, sir. In the sense of marking, bookmarking.
Correct. And there are lots of lovely apps on the Apple platform which are actually very useful. And can be used effectively for that, for marking up, for working in court and stuff. Right. Yeah, we can get into that.
And sir, one last.
So what we've covered today are really the next stage in integrating Microsoft Word and PDF to generate a collection of PDFs with sequential numbering, proper bookmarking, and the best techniques to get this done. Now, once we've covered that more or less, I imagine that the next step would be to take it to the next level is how to improve the efficiency of working in Microsoft Word. So we can look at that as the next.
Very helpful.
Lots of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to be done there. A lot of stuff that can be.
One question which I have to ask, which before we close, what is the secret to you knowing so much of technology?
Maniacal fascination with all things tech. What can I say? since school days. That's it. Code is beautiful.
Right, sir. And you said it is more of experimentation.
Logical. Yeah, it's relentlessly logical, and it's fantastic when you can get the thing to do exactly what you want it to do. So it's absolutely wonderful.
Right.
Anyway, thank you very much, and I must acknowledge Justice Dhanuka and the Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Yarlagada, Mr. Chetan Singh Gill. None of this would have been possible without you, and I hope it's been of some use.
We are really grateful to all of you, sir, for organizing this. This is really invaluable for every lawyer practicing, and we are really grateful to you.
Thank you,
Mr. Yarlagada, Mr. Chetan Singh, and everyone.
Sir, on behalf of the Academy, I express my gratitude to the Honorable Chief Justice, sir, and Honorable Director, sir, and today's speaker, eminent technical knowledge possessing Justice Honorable Sri G.S. Patel, sir, and equally technically interesting, having interest much from the advocate side, Dr. Seraph, sir, co-panelist, and my co-host, SCC Online, their management, Mr. Zain and Mr. Kapoor, and my co-host, Mr. Chetan Singh Gill. And I express my thanks to all the advocates who have helped in spreading this message for this webinar in their groups. And I express my thanks to all the principal district judges and the judicial officers in the registry and the staff and district system administrators from the High Court as well as the district courts. And with this, I express, I complete my vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll let you know the next date for the next one. Biren will be in touch on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
So we'll end this session now.
Yes, sir.